Hi, everyone. I am Violette Ayala, the founder of FemCity, and you're joining us today for a really great conversation, a topic that I feel will not go away. It's something that we could talk about forever. I have asked three of our experts to join me today in this conversation. They are both three amazing women. I've known them for a really long time, meaning a couple years, and I just think that they're just very I don't know. They're just very authentic and they're always very open to sharing their story. So today we're going to talk about burning out, right? The warning signs that you get when you're in that work-life balance and you're trying to manage it all. And we even talked about it, I feel like on Monday in the FemCity Founders Roundtable, we talked about burnout and how important it is to really acknowledge it maybe before it happens and then what happens after it happens and how do you recover. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let me introduce to you our panel because you may not know who they are. Let's start with Elizabeth. Elizabeth, if you can just share a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really excited about this conversation. I am Elizabeth Sherman. I am a master certified life and health coach for women in midlife. And so I work with my clients in the areas of eating, physical activity, stress management, sleep management, body image, and how to manage our hormonal symptoms naturally through lifestyle. And so, it's really interesting. I've been talking a lot about stress management lately. So this is going to be perfect today.
Yeah, great, great. Let's go to Kat. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kat Sanford. I'm a certified group fitness instructor, and I'm also a menopause wellness coach. And so I work with women that are not quite sure where they are in the menopause transition. So that would be perimenopause all the way to postmenopause to just help them understand what's going on with their bodies and navigate the journey so that they can thrive and not just cope, and help them point them to the resources that they need to um, just be vibrant and live well during that transition. So
Thank you. Thanks so much, Kat. And then Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura Wade, and I am a certified passion test facilitator and a soul to goal guide. And I work with women to help them figure out what it is that they really want in their lives right now and what are the ways that they can align more with their soul. So, body, mind, and spirit is aligned in their lives.
Okay, let's dive in. Thank you so much for sharing about all of you, what you do. And I love that all of you, it's just so aligned, right? You're just all in the work of helping women navigate life so it's easier. So let's just jump in. So what were some of the warning signs that you were going through in your work-life balance that you knew you needed to change? And the reason why I'm asking that is because I feel like when I hit burnout, I feel like it just kind of happened. Like I didn't really realize the signs. It just got, and I've done it. I've been through that a couple of times in my life, um, where I just found myself on the other side of burnout, and it was really hard for me to go back to my center because I was so exhausted. I was so depleted. I was just like lethargic. I just didn't want to do anything, and so I wish that I had had those warning signs to notify me to say, hey, it's time for you to slow down. It's time for you to like really take a look at your life. Elizabeth, what are or were some warning signs that you think are really great to share to help women understand this before it happens?
Well, I think that it's really individual, but for me, this is going to sound really weird. I notice that I am in the beginning stages of stress when my cuticles and my nails look all completely beat up because I am someone who like picks at my nails when I'm stressed out. And
Mm,
so when I start to notice that my nails are looking kind of rough, that is a signal to me that I need to spend a little bit more time, you know, relaxing and taking time off and connecting with myself. I recently had an experience where I was also noticing that I was eating more in the evenings. And when I really looked at that, instead of like doing the whole, no, you have to cut out all sweets and start exercising more, I really tuned into the fact that I stopped disconnecting or I stopped connecting with myself first thing in the morning. When I would get up in the morning, instead of doing my normal routine, morning routine, I was hopping straight onto social media and getting completely involved, and then going straight through dinner and working. And so those are two little signals to me that I need to take a little bit more time to rest and recharge.
Yeah, I love those. And those are really practical. I mean, I think that a lot of women can relate to that. Like just, those simple ways of just recognizing like, okay, something's up. I need to start like really kind of diving in a little bit. Kat, what about you?
So I'm like you, Elizabeth. I've had several times that this has happened to me throughout my career, and Violet, I think that's why the conversation will always be here. The very first thing that happened to me led me to become an entrepreneur, and that was in my corporate job of finding myself working at 7 p.m. on a Friday. The only one stuck in the office trying to finish something. And I just realized I was like, there's got to be something else. And that led me to becoming an entrepreneur, but I continued the same habits. So when I first became an entrepreneur, I was in product sales, and there was deadlines and goals and incentives and all these things. And I just found myself at my computer, but I was doing busy work. I was not talking to clients. I wasn't really doing the income producing activities. So I was spending all this time in isolation in my little home office with the door shut, and not engaging in my family, not taking care of myself, spending all these hours and really not seeing the results. And so it was one of those things. I think I just had to have the experience to realize that this is not how I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So so it gave me the gift of awareness.
I love it. I remember years ago, there were a couple of articles featured in some of the business publications that shared when we work over 30 hours, how really we don't see the ROI on that time. And I'm a workaholic also. Like I love the work that I do. I get into a flow of it. I just love it. But after a certain period of time, like there's just you're not really moving the needle any further. So I love that you mentioned that, because we think because of the culture and because society tells us we have to work 50 hours a week if we're really serious about what we're doing, or even 40 plus. But the truth is, they've done studies that after 30 hours, there's really not much more. Like it's better for us to rest, because then we're more productive and we're more efficient with our time. And then we do see the results because we're more clear with the actions that we're taking on, versus kind of like, we're exhausted and we're tired and we're making like more mistakes. And so I love that you mentioned that, because I hadn't thought about that since back like years ago when they were like starting to, and then it kind of just went away, which is why we're having this conversation again. Like we talk about it and then it goes away. So thank you so much. And Laura.
Well, for me, was some of the things that I've noticed in the past when I start to feel burnout is that I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about my to-do list and can't seem to go back to sleep because it's just churning in my head, and then feeling overwhelmed during the day and disconnected. So we all kind of mentioned some of that disconnect feeling. And I think that, when we're not taking the time for that stillness and going inward, we can start to feel that disconnect, and then we make different choices, or we're unconscious about the choices we're making. And so for me, one of the unconscious choices that happens for me when I'm feeling overwhelmed and burnt out is what I eat. Is that I notice I'll just grab what's easy instead of what I know would truly nourish me. And so that's one of my signs, because I'm usually very conscious and careful about what it is I'm putting in my body.
And again, I think that's one of the things that most women will agree upon. I mean, that's something that's like Elizabeth mentioned the same thing, just that evening snack, right? That's a really big one too. Laura totally resonates with, I'm sure, all the women that are watching. All right, so let's talk about solutions. So we've all talked about kind of our own stories. I mean, I haven't shared mine, but mine, I share it all the time. I feel like I'm going to do a video later on today about stress management. But I remember feeling burnt out the first time in my life. I was in my early 30s. I had been working for a real estate company doing new home sales. I was number one in sales. I was like killing it. I loved the work that I did because they were brand new homes. So I got a chance to design them also with the client. And I remember a new kind of lead walked into our office, and I couldn't even get up off the chair. I was like, I didn't even care about money anymore. I gave it to somebody else. And that's what I knew. I was like, if I'm not even getting up off the chair, like there's something definitely burned. And it took me years to recover. I ended up leaving the real estate industry. And I started my Pilates business after that. I just couldn't do it. It was just too much. So I remember, but it took me a long time to get out of that. So let's talk about systems, because I wanted to ask you a couple more questions about how you integrate wellness into your life. I mean, all three of you, Laura, I know you didn't mention your wellness side, but I know that about you because I've hung out with you in real space. So I know that that's a big part of your life as well. But how can you, I guess, what are the tools that you could share with those that are watching as far as like creating systems to help navigate growth and rest and taking that on? Because I feel that women, and I say this because I've been doing FemCity for 16 years and I owned a Pilates studio before that for 10 years. So I've only coached women all that time. I feel like we are constantly in this scope. Like we're constantly trying to, do it all and then like, okay, time to rest. And so that sustainability, that kind of middle ground is really hard for us to attain. We're raising children, we're taking care of our parents, we're, taking care of our community sometimes. We're just doing so many things. What has worked for you as far as building systems or just integrating that into your everyday life? Let's go to Elizabeth for that. For all of them, but Elizabeth.
Yeah, so I actually have two answers for this. First, I recently read the book by Martha Beck called The Way of Integrity, or The Integrity is the Way. I can't remember. Have any of you read it?
I know who she is, but I haven't read it. Yeah.
Yeah, she's an OG life coach. And she tells the story in the book about how her body does not like eggs, but she loves them. And she found herself in a diner eating eggs. And she was like, why did I do that? And when she was able to trace back her steps, she had just gotten out of a big project where she was helping a friend pack up her house. And at one point or a couple points in the earlier part of the day, her brain said, you really need to take a break. But her other part of her brain was like, no, we can just push through and get it done and we'll be good. And so what she found was that when she wasn't in integrity with her body and what her body needed, that she went to do destructive things. And so that is something that I have been really, really hard trying to pay attention to when I'm working. And I get that little thought in the back of my head that says, you should really take a break right now. But the constant chatter that we have in our heads is, oh, but it's just this little thing. I can finish it, right? And so the more I can pay attention to that, the less rest that I need. Okay. So that's the first part. The second part is like, I just got out of a launch. And the week after the launch, I was just meh. Like I didn't want to talk to anyone, just like what you were describing, Violet. A previous version of me would have been really worried about that because I would have been afraid that I was never going to get my mojo back. And where I've come to is that we all have seasons and we all have, or I do, where I'm high in motivation and I'm low in motivation. And so I know that I'm going to get it back. And so I kind of just ride the wave at this point.
Yeah. It's fascinating the story that really resonates. I mean, everything you shared resonates with me. However, I'm stuck on the story of like going out of your way to self-sabotage, like going out of your way. And at first I thought when you were telling that story, I thought she was going to do it on purpose. So it would force her to rest. Like maybe she would have some sort of some sort of diarrhea and she'd have to be in bed and that would force her to make this step. But I understand like sometimes we do destructive things because it's easier than resting.
Yeah. Well, and it's a disconnection from us. Like when I am actively overriding my body's need for rest, I'm disconnecting.
Yeah.
And then throughout the rest of the day, I continue to disconnect with food, with Netflix, with social.
Right. Yeah. There's so much there. Yeah. So good. All right, let's go to Kat. Tips that you have.
So really quick, two things. One is a ritual, and the other is just kind of some tips for systems. And so the ritual is that I have unapologetically got into the habit of putting me first thing in the morning. And it just, there again, through life experiences of, something's got to give when you're doing all the things for everyone else. And just since, sensing that, was starting my day with overwhelm and stress, like, getting on social or reading the news or watching the news or just, all the bad things. And so, um, for several years. And so for me in the morning, that looks like a healthy breakfast, moving my body, and then spending time, working on my spiritual, walk too. So whether it's meditation or devotional prayer, all of the above. A great morning for me is when I get a chance to do all of it, where I can do all the things that I want to do. Whether it's an hour, 30 minutes, sometimes it's just even 15 minutes. So really just taking care of me and, getting my head straight on how I want to feel, and, just filling my cup back up. And so that's like, doesn't always happen. And that's when it starts, where there's enough days that does not happen, then I am getting, close to burnout and getting off my game, so to speak. So that's a ritual that I put into practice. And then there's also systems. I would just say, as a business owner, I've been in business for quite a while, doing different things along the way. But number one is like, get your systems in place. So get automated, get help. There's all kinds of levels of automation from free to paid. And, sometimes I would say, invest in things, maybe even before you're ready. Where do you want to be 6 months from now, a year from now? And don't let that overwhelm you, because there are ways to get automated really simply and affordable if you're, a startup entrepreneur. And what can you delegate? Are there things you can delegate to your family? Engage your family. I know as women, there's a real tendency, even for me, part of my identity is in what I can do for my family in the home. So, and it brings me joy, but it also can be stressful when, the team's not in the boat rowing in the same direction. So I would say, that takes communication, and, build a community, build fans. I mean, I have a lot to say on this part, so I'll stop, but there's a lot you can do. But I would say, get your systems in place that can support you. I found that was really, 2 years ago, I had a hysterectomy and had a great recovery, but I did not set my business up for success during recovery. And so it took a little bit of, okay, what am I going to do next? And, I had some systems, but I really didn't have a plan for what my business was going to look like and how it was going to show up or what was going to happen, during that time or even after. And that's a very, even when you have a great physical recovery, it can be a challenging time mentally, spiritually, all the things. And, so I would say, just having systems can support that.
Yeah. I don't know why women feel like they can't ask for help. And I ask that all the time. I don't know what it is. Like, where did we learn that? At what point of our lives? Because it's not just one woman that feels like that. I think like so many of my friends, so many femmes feel like that. Like, where along the way did we recognize asking for help made us weak? Or I don't know where that started. I just generally go to that. It gets me really upset because it's so many of us just have a really hard time asking for help, which is why when we do the FemCity networking, we have that as part of our pitch, as part of our format, is at the end, we force women to say what you need help with. And we added that because it was just so hard for women to ask for help and then kind of be like, I don't even know where I need help. I just need help with everything. I don't even know where to start. So I don't know where that, I even talking to new moms, in my neighborhood, I'm always like, you need to depend on other moms. And they're like, oh, I could never trust my child with I'm like, you have to make friends with other moms and you guys have to be there for each other. That's how you get through things. You have to, it's community, like you were saying, Kat. So anyway, Laura, let's hear your tips and your systems.
Well, and I agree about the feeling like I always felt like I had to be really independent
Yeah.
So it was the independence, I think, and proving that I could do things on my own.
But like,
I
why?
don't feel that way anymore. I'm
Yeah, but
much
only,
ask
I
for
mean,
that.
I think once you get to, I mean, I'm 53 years old and I feel like I just got my groove into asking that a couple years ago, but like, why did it take so long? Like, why do we feel that? And it's
Yeah.
culturally, like, I'm Cuban and I felt like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just the Cuban culture, it's like all. So I don't know where that stems from. But anyway, go ahead, Laura.
All right. So I actually incorporate a lot of the things that both Elizabeth and Kat have shared. I definitely agree with scheduling your self-care and prioritizing in the morning if at all possible, because our willpower is the greatest in the morning. It wanes during the day and we're less likely to take care of ourselves later in the day than we are in the morning. So I also have a morning routine, and it includes movement, meditation, journaling, doing gratitudes. And sometimes I am adding affirmations if there's something specific I want to focus on. So taking care of body, mind, and spirit first thing in the morning helps me be more centered and grounded as I make choices throughout the day, which I feel like sets us up for success. If I know that I have myself taken care of in the morning, then it's easier for me to attend to someone else's needs or to respond to a client or whatever I need to do during the day. Plus, I think it also just lifts my vibration and makes me more magnetic to other people, and also helps lift them up, being around me if I've taken care of myself first. So I never look at it. I know a lot of women, and at times in my life, I have felt like it's a selfish thing to do to take care of myself, but I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like it's a necessity. And for me to be the best person I can be for my family, for my friends, for my clients, I have to take care of myself first. So, and then I just, the seasonality thing, that was one of the things I was going to touch on too, Elizabeth. And I think that's so important because I think we get this idea that we have to be go, 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 go all the time. And we're not designed that way. We're actually designed to cycle, and to have high motivation days and high energy days, and to have some lower days where we are being told by our bodies or even our minds or spirits that we need to take a step back and relax a little bit. And so I think it's really important to realize that is okay, that it's part of who we are. It's part of how we're designed, and to have grace with ourselves because we're just doing what we're supposed to be doing. Even if we feel like there's something else we're supposed to be doing, we're really not. Sometimes we're just supposed to be resting, and that's okay.
That's okay. And I spent 2 weeks in Germany visiting our son, and it's interesting because the vibe there, he lives in Berlin. The vibe is so much more chill. And as we were walking around, we were like, no one's on their phone. No one. People were walking. Like I walk in my neighborhood and I do it too. I'm walking the dogs and sometimes I'm on the phone on Threads, like looking to see what's trending and what people are talking about and what's happening in the world. And I felt like it was so refreshing to see humans like with blankets at the park, just talking. No one was on their phone. No one, even just walking around by themselves, even sitting at the restaurant by themselves, no one was on their phone. And I felt like just the vibe and the energy of just that chill, like it's okay to be slow. It's okay to like take an hour and just be. So I love that you shared that, Laura. And I know that someone's going to be watching this and say, well, it's so nice that you guys have the luxury of like having a morning routine. Listen, I've worked the full-time gig. I've had the 3 kids having to take them to school. Just getting up, I know you're exhausted and tired, but just getting up 10 minutes before the craziness happens. If you can just do that, maybe it's at 6 a.m., maybe it's at 5:30, just doing the 10 minutes where you can ease into the day makes such a difference versus sleeping the extra 10 minutes and then waking up in chaos, getting everyone dressed, getting everyone out the door, getting their lunches packed, like all that stuff. So you can just wake up a little bit earlier. It will make a huge difference. Many years ago, I heard Deepak Chopra speak at a Oprah Winfrey thing here in Miami. And, people are like, I can't afford to meditate. I don't have time to meditate. But really the reality is you that's what you should be investing in, is to take the time for yourself. It makes your whole day a lot better. So anyway, thank you so much for sharing all of your, I wrote down a bunch of tips for me to take on as well. Good reminders. Elizabeth, for those that want to follow your journey and learn more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at elizabethsherman.com. I have a podcast called Total Health in Midlife. And I like to spend most of my time in social on Instagram.
Yep.
It's
You're also
elizabeth.sherman.coach.
I was gonna say you're also active on Threads because I try to like all your comments there too. So thank you so much. All right, Kat, where can femmes find you as well?
You can find me at catsanford.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram with the handle the Cat Sanford.
The Kat Sanford. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And Laura.
You can find me at thrivebyheart.com, and I am on Instagram and Facebook under Laura Lighty Wade.
Awesome. And I think all three of them, you can also find them over at the FemCity directory. So if you want to search them there and contact them there, that's always there for you as well. Thank you so much, ladies. This was such a great conversation. And I'm so grateful that you're in our community and giving of your time and sharing all your wisdom with our community. So thank you so much. I love you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.